Welcome back. Now, with ongoing talks ahead of the 2027 elections, President Bola Tinubu has said that the growing popularity of the ruling All Progressives Congress across the country is a reflection of its achievements in less than 2 years in office. The president made this known at the APC Renewed Hope Agenda Now Summit, which brought together key figures within the party, including the National Working Committee, members of the National Assembly, and governors from the Progressives Governors Forum. At the summit, the party leadership assessed progress made under the current administration, addressed national challenges, and strategized ahead of the 2027 general elections. Now, one of the key highlights of the event was the unanimous endorsement of President Tinubu by all the 22 APC governors now as the party's sole presidential candidate for the 2027 elections, in a major show of solidarity and confidence in his leadership. While addressing the recent wave of defections from other political parties into the APC, President Tinubu said such movements reflect the democratic rights of Nigerians to associate freely and choose their political affiliations. He however assured Nigerians now that the country will not slip into a one-party state. Joining me now to discuss this further is the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Felix Moka. Mr. Moka, thank you very much for coming on the program. So let's take it off from the issue of the country slipping into a one-party state as you know, a concern, of course, raised by the opposition. And you have the president, of course, addressing it. And the president said, look, people are free to move, that you just can't stop them. But how would you address this concern by the opposition that, you know, the fact that quite a lot of politicians are gravitating, defecting to the All Progressives Congress could literally mean the country might be slipping into a one-party state?
No, that is not a legitimate concern at all. The country is not sliding into a one-party state. We're not. What we're witnessing is democracy in action. You know, individuals, political actors, making informed choices about what platform to affiliate with. You know, we happen to be, you know, I think the beneficiary, if you will, of the exercise of this choice. You know, people are choosing to join our party more than those who are choosing to leave our party. And that is normal. You know, you cannot erect fences and erect walls or gates to keep people out of a political party. A political party, you know, by definition, is an association where people come together, you know, voluntarily and exit voluntarily. So when people who are in the opposition parties decide to join us, that shouldn't raise any specter of, you know, a one-party state. You know, let me remind us that there was a time in the history of this country when PDP governed. And when they governed this country with nearly 30 governors across, you know, the states. At that time, I don't recall that there was any hue and cry about the country, you know, slipping or sliding into a one-party state. How come APC, we only just recently made 22 governors with the joining of the Delta State governor? Before that, we were 21. Nowhere near PDP's 32 governors when we all were here singing, you know, that our democracy was flourishing. So look, you know, this is double standards. We can't, the opposition cannot be going about recruiting and mobilizing people to join their ranks and then be, you know, criticizing the APC for receiving, you know, people who choose voluntarily to join us. You know, that's unacceptable.
Anyway, and I know it might soon be 23 governors for you. Consider, I mean, if the comments of the Akwa Ibom State governor is anything to go by, but I want you to respond to, you know, some of these statements now from the opposition, and I believe you must have heard that one of the reasons why you know, you have this movement to your party is that some of these governors or some of these people who are coming to your party are just seeking some kind of soft landing, like in the case of the Delta State governor, for instance, allegations, of course, that the whole reason is just because the former governor was looking for some kind of, to get the EFCC off his back, and that your party probably had promised some of them that if they came to the APC, any case at all they have with the EFCC would be swept under the carpet.
That's unfounded, idle talk. You see, when people don't have anything, significant to say, they begin to conjure up things that don't exist. You see, people can say what they want. The opposition members can say what it is they like, but it doesn't cut it. And I don't think Nigerians are paying attention to that. This government has taken a very firm position and policy against corruption. There are people, governors even, or former governors of, APC, who have had to occasion to answer to, invitations or allegations, from the EFCC. Now, look, that is completely unfounded. Nobody's joining APC because they're looking for soft landing or because they're looking for a safe haven. They join APC because they choose to join APC. And they're joining APC for two major reasons. One is that they obviously believe that this president is on the right track, that the president's, reform, are leading the country to where Nigeria needs to go. That is one. Implicit confidence in the reforms of this president and his leadership. The second trend is the fact that the PDP itself has, completely shot itself in the foot by its inability to manage its own internal affairs. That is the reason for the drift. And it's so funny that the ones who are leading this argument, the likes of Atiku Abubakar, were the architects of the internal, dysfunction that is rocking the PDP, which is the reason people are leaving. Because look, politicians join parties because they desire to compete for power. They seek a platform to, compete, to exercise their democratic rights. When the party like the PDP loses its capacity to offer a safe, sensible platform to engage, you don't expect people to stay there and stagnate. They will move, and that's what you're saying. So we are not responsible for what is happening. But, again, like I said, in a democratic process, you cannot erect, barriers or gates and say to people, you may not come in. That's also completely anti-democratic.
I'm just wondering if your party would be able to manage this huge number, the deluge coming into your party, and some of them coming, of course, there are issues in their local party. Take, for instance, Delta State, where, whether we like it or not, there is a contention over, the leadership of the party in that state. The governor, of course, at some point had to come out to openly say he is now the leader of the APC in the state. But you also have the former deputy Senate president there. You have this contention. I'm just wondering how your party would manage this. And now you're expecting the governor of Akwa Ibom State to come in as well, and then you have the Senate president from that state. How would your party manage this to ensure it doesn't degenerate into a crisis that you'd find difficult to manage?
No, it will not degenerate. And there's nothing complicated about the scenarios that you refer to, whether it's in Delta or in Akwa Ibom. There's no complication. There's a sitting governor who today has joined our party. Now, everyone in our party, from the president to the leaders of the party in the state, have welcomed the governor into our party. Now, APC has evolved very strong systems for mediating anything, conflicts, or mediating competing interests, whatever it may be. We have evolved systems to do that. And which is why people have confidence in the party, why they're willing to abandon their old party and to join us. So the situation in Delta, which is my state, by the way,
Yeah.
I can tell you for free that, yes, as you would expect, you will have people who are anxious, who are not sure. Any system of, coming together, whether it's, of a personal marriage, of, a political marriage, or, anything similar, people are bound to, be anxious. But anxiety is not, a negative necessarily. It just means that people then put their concerns on the table, discuss them, and then work out, some understanding that allows the integration to happen, like we're witnessing in Delta. And I bet that if the governor of Akwa Ibom State makes that decision to join our party, the same thing will happen. They will come in. Yes, you will find areas where there are initial, tensions and anxieties, but at the core, both the old members and the incoming members will, sit down at the table and work out whatever areas of, uncertainties there may be. That is how a political party is supposed to function. Nobody has promised, any sort of, just hitch-free, that smooth integration. You have to work for it. Anywhere two people are gathered, you must work to reach compromise and to reach understanding. We, I think, have demonstrated that capacity. The opposition have not, and I think that's why they appear to be having, challenges.
Now, so many parties, so many opposition parties are blaming your party and blaming the government for the crisis they are contending with. You must have heard the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, recently blaming the government, your party as well, for being responsible for the crisis in the Labour Party. What would be your reaction to that?
You see, look, Deji, that's just utterly ridiculous, quite frankly. I mean, for Peter Obi to take the microphone and suggest that the APC is responsible for the problem in his party, this is an individual who, even without anyone caring, will tell you every day that he is, able and capable of governing Nigeria, a country of nearly 300 million people, with all of our, multi-complex, our complexities, to put it, mildly. He says he has the capacity to govern the country. But this same individual, Peter Obi, does not have the capacity to fix a problem in his little party.
And that's, sorry to interject, and that's what he said, that the reason why he's not been able to address it is because, this whole thing is orchestrated by the government, by your party.
Deji, I think that I've heard this, commentary enough. And I think that it's time for, some of our colleagues in the media to begin to demand, I don't want to say proof, because then you think, oh, we're not in court. They should begin to demand some, basis for these claims. Because you see, a bad workman can blame the tools all he wants, but he needs sometimes to go back to actually worry about his capacity and his competencies. Because it's easy, it's very cheap to say, look, we can't fix the problem because, the APC is doing something. What are we doing? How are we doing it? We are not doing anything. These guys are just dysfunctional. They're utterly, they proved incapable of solving their own internal affairs. And how do you then convince Nigerians that you cannot fix the problems in your small party, but you can govern Nigeria? So, now imagine a situation where some of these characters, are assuming they ended up, finding themselves governing anything. How many excuses are you going to make when things go wrong? Who are you going to blame when things go wrong? You see, look, the PDP was a ruling party. In the PDP today, you still have the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar.
Sure.
And you have governors who are sitting governors and former governors who are members of that party. Now, if you suggest that APC, a political party, is doing something that has completely constrained all of these eminent Nigerians who are in these parties, all of these, heavy weights who are in these parties, that the APC has somehow managed to confound them and cripple them, made them incapable of actually, extricating themselves from this mess, then in that case, they are not as big as you might think.
Are you bothered about the coalition talks going on now among the opposition parties? They're planning to come up with a very big coalition to challenge your party and possibly, get your party out of power in 2027. Is that something you're losing sleep over?
No, we're sleeping very well, Deji. We're sleeping good, I can tell you. We're sleeping good because, we are busy minding our business. We're busy, putting our party together. We're busy governing, creating milestones while they're busy, grumbling. We're busy creating milestones, just like the president said yesterday at the summit. APC is governing. We're busy fixing the economy. We're busy tackling serious matters of state and, showing Nigerians record of progress from, a very sordid history to now a place where, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Look, our people have endured quite a bit. And they've endured for a very long time, not just under this administration, but, quite frankly, through the years, the phantom, economic years of the PDP, we've endured a whole lot. And Nigerians, deserve a break, which this president is working to give Nigerians in the long term some sustainable, growth, stability, and prosperity that I think our people will be, thankful for, down the line. So look, it's okay because we're in a political system where members of the opposition will say something, we'll never see anything good. That is, even when the world is acknowledging that we are making progress in various sectors, they will still, want to push a false narrative that everything is bad or is going wrong. But, like the president said yesterday, APC is government. And if people want to come into the party because they want to support this vision of the president, they're welcome to come. They're welcome to come. They should, I think, give people a reason to embrace them as well. Nobody's stopping them. And nobody's going to stop us. And I think it's completely disingenuous for anyone to suggest that because we're a ruling party, we must not engage as we did yesterday. Our governors who came out to endorse the president, a mere expression of confidence in the work that this president is doing. People are saying on the opposition side that we shouldn't have done that. Meanwhile, that same yesterday, they put out a lot of information about the progress with their so-called coalition. So, why is it okay for the opposition parties or individuals to band together to have these conversations about, floating a coalition to challenge the APC? But APC is required to just sit back and do nothing. We can put up a summit to bring ourselves together and, share information and, tell Nigerians how far this government has come.
But some people are saying, look, the politicking is coming.
We will do that, irrespective.
Yes, some people are saying the politicking now is coming way too early. 2027 is still somewhat far away, and already the president is being endorsed by at least by the governors now, as the sole candidate of the party. So the concern of some people is that, look, this is coming way too early and it is some kind of distraction. The government has not even completed 2 years in office. Besides that, with this endorsement now, does it mean we're not going to see any kind of, opposition to the president, during your primaries, when that happens, sometime next year?
Look, an endorsement is an endorsement. No one has proclaimed any law or amended the APC constitution to prevent anyone else from aspiring to any office. So I think we're misreading this. This is an internal, event where members of the party, came to the conclusion that this president has done enough to justify their confidence and for them to then express confidence in his leadership. That is normal. That can be done at any time in the life of an administration. It can be done even on the first day or the second or the third day. And especially in a situation where the opposition is busy, again, moving around and, just creating, some energy around false narratives. I think it's normal. We're not speaking to Nigeria or we're speaking to the party and saying to ourselves, we members of the party, the governor said yesterday that they have reason to have confidence and to express, their confidence in this president. And then, suggested that they will endorse him, in his bid, which he has not announced yet, to run. And that is perfectly normal. And I think, we shouldn't make too much of it.
So it doesn't foreclose any form of primary at all, it does not stop other should I say, aspirants from within the party or other members of the party now to also declare their interest in running for the presidency as well, contesting the party's ticket with the president?
No, the governors and those who moved this vote of confidence yesterday were very clear. Nothing in their statement said, oh, all party members, you must not. They didn't go in that direction. They simply were expressing their democratic freedom to pass a vote of confidence in this, president. And I think, it should be understood as such. And I think, besides, we're not in a primary mode right now. We're not in that zone where we start having conversations about who is interested and who is not interested. All the governors did yesterday, and I think the National Assembly leadership as well, and even the National Working Committee of our party, we all expressed, confidence in this president. And so, I think those who want to, mischaracterize it can do so, but, that's not on us, it's on them, because we didn't go in that direction. We simply said yesterday, we're very pleased with the efforts of this president, and we continue to support him in his, leadership, both through this term and then hopefully into the next, electoral period.
All right, I think we just have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Felix Nwaka, for coming on the program, and thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so much, Deji. Thank you.
All right, that's how much we can take this week. I'll see you again next week. Until then, stay well.